So good morning, everyone. So people from online, so hope everyone can hear me. So it could be great if you can just message in the chat box, and hope you all can see my whiteboard. Great. So thank you so much for joining. So we'll start the class. So here, so first of all, my name is Santosh. So I have experience on AWS, DevOps, and multiple cloud platforms as well. I've been in this training from last 8 years. So I have trained more than 3,000 students till date. And so I'll be your trainer for next couple of months. So let me just give you some introduction about the course. So what we are going to learn, and then we'll start with the topics. Okay. So this particular course is designed as a multi-cloud. So this particular course is designed as multi-cloud. So I'll tell you the difference why we designed it as a multi-cloud. So in this particular course, so we are going to cover AWS as our primary. So in this particular course, we are going to cover AWS as our primary skill and Azure as our secondary skill. So in this particular course, so we are going to cover AWS as our primary and Azure as our secondary. So we will be having almost 40 to 50 sessions on AWS, on Amazon Web Services. And then at least 15 sessions on Microsoft Azure. We're covering off a few services in Azure. Along with this, we also cover some DevOps tools like Terraform and Jenkins and GitHub Actions. So these are all pipelines. Clear? So we'll be covering the cloud as well as pipelines and IAC, infrastructure as a code. The reason why we brought this up together, in many organizations, we filtered like what are the most important services they were using. Let's say if I learn only AWS, or if I learn only DevOps, or if I learn only Azure, the probability of getting a job is a bit reduced. I'm not saying they won't get a job, but comparatively with multi-cloud, so always the multi-cloud will have an advantage being in your resume. So the way we prepared this multi-cloud is AWS as your primary skill, Azure and pipelines as your secondary skill. So that whenever you showcase your previous experience, you can say that I worked with these cloud platforms and I worked with these pipelines and with this infrastructure as a code. So our sessions will be initially on AWS for first 2 months, around 40 to 45 minimum sessions. So then we will move to the Azure and we will cover few services on Azure as well. And we do a projects. Let's say when we are learning AWS, we also do the real-time projects as well. The projects will be, let's say, if this is AWS and if this is something like Google Cloud Platform, how to migrate data from Google Cloud Platform to AWS, how to migrate a machine from Google Cloud Platform to AWS. So these are the projects that we also do. Along with this, once we completed AWS, once we completed Amazon Web Services, we also started looking into Azure as well for at least 15 sessions. Once we learned a few services in Microsoft Azure, then we will learn the basics of a Terraform first, and then we will see how to deploy an infrastructure in AWS and in Azure as well. The reason why we use Terraform is whenever we are working in the real time. So whenever you are learning a course, like either it can be an AWS or it can be an Azure, generally we will do a practice manually, like creating of a servers or creating of a storage, whatever it may be. We will be doing it manually. But in general, in real time, the companies will not allow us to do it manually. In real time, companies will not allow us to do it manually. In those cases, most of the companies were using this Terraform. So that is the reason we incorporated Terraform into this curriculum as well. We will see how we can deploy the resources using of Terraform in both AWS and in Azure as well. So once we know how to deploy the Terraform templates in both AWS and in Azure, then the way in organizations, they won't deploy the Terraform templates manually. They'll use some pipelines to deploy the Terraform templates. So we'll come up with either Jenkins and GitHub Actions, how to deploy your templates using of a Jenkins pipelines and using of a GitHub Actions pipeline. So this is what the project that we are going to do. Clear? So who just joined to the meeting again, I'll be explaining. So here I'm just giving you an intro of what we are going to cover in this particular course. So what is our curriculum? So this curriculum is designed as multi-cloud so that a person can get knowledge on multiple cloud platforms. Along with that, some of a few DevOps tools which are required in the organization. So here we are going to cover Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Terraform, Jenkins, GitHub Actions. Okay. Just give me a minute. Okay. So hope you all can see my whiteboard, right? So people from online, can you just confirm me? Hope you all can see my whiteboard. Okay. Just give me a second, guys. So every day session will start at 9 a.m. Every day the session will start at 9 a.m. and it will be around 9:15. We'll start the session. We'll wait for 15 minutes until everyone joins. And so the content will covered, as I told, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure. So I don't know what is the problem here. Just give me a minute, guys. Okay. Okay. Okay, so people who have any doubts from the online, so I'll allow you to talk at the end of the meeting. So please uh, wait for some time, okay? So AWS at the same time, Azure at the same time, pipelines at the same time, Terraform. So these are all the tools that we are going to cover in this, okay? So initially we will go with Amazon Web Services, then we'll go with Azure for 15 days, and then we'll go for Terraform. So we will see how to deploy AWS resources and Azure resources using of a Terraform. And then we'll see how to deploy the Terraform templates using of a pipelines. Okay. So in between, so once we completed AWS, so we also do the projects. So the projects will be how to migrate the data between from GCP to AWS and how to migrate an application from GCP to AWS, then creating infra using Terraform and deploying Terraform templates using of pipelines. Okay, so we will do all this. So this is the part that we are going to cover in this particular curriculum. Okay. So let's start with a very basic introduction about what is a cloud. We will try to understand what is a cloud first before entering into a in-depth services of AWS or Azure. So we will try to understand what is a cloud. At the same time, what is an on-premises infrastructure. So first we'll try to understand what is a cloud. So we'll try to understand what is a cloud. So you all aware of Google Drive, right? We all aware of Google Drive. We all aware of what is Google Drive. And we always use the Google Drive for different use cases as well. We always store our data into the Google Drive. Yes or no? We always store our data into the Google Drive. So how much data that we can store it in the Google Drive generally? How much data that we can store it in the Google Drive? So we all know that. So Google Drive, we will use it for to store the data. I mean, whatever the images or whatever the videos or whatever the files that you have. So we always upload our data into the Google Drive. Can anyone knows how much data that we can store it in a Google Drive? It will be like 15 GB is a free trial limit. 15 GB is a free trial limit. 15 GB is not only the space that we have in Google Drive. We always can store unlimited data in Google Drive. 15 GB is just a free trial data. Apart from 15 GB, whenever you upload the data, so based on your storage, you have to pay for it. So let's say whenever I'm using and I'm paying. If I'm not using, I'm not paying. Isn't it? So let's say if I talk about the power bill, if we use that, we will pay. If you are not going to use it, if you're not, you are not going to pay it. All right. Can I say this as pay as you go model? Can I say it as pay as you go model? So is my statement is correct? Is my statement is correct? So whenever I use something and whenever I pay something, whenever I use something, whenever I pay for it, can I call it as a pay as you go model? So pay as you go model means how much you use, you pay for it. So can I call Google Drive is pay as you go model? Because without using Google Drive, you won't pay anything. If you use Google Drive, you will pay for it. If you use Google Drive, you will pay for it. So Google Drive is a pay as you go model. And we can store unlimited data in Google Drive. We can store unlimited data in Google Drive. And whenever you store your data inside the Google Drive, will you maintain any physical device with you? Let's say if I store my data in pen drive or if I store my data in hard disk, I supposed to maintain that hardware along with me, right? Yes or no? So when I store my data at somewhere, definitely I have to carry that hard disk or I have to secure that hard disk along with me. But whenever you store your data inside the Google Drive, are you going to maintain any physical device along with you? Then where our data is getting stored? If I'm not going to maintain any physical device with me, and simply I'm just uploading my data into Google Drive, and if I'm not going to maintaining it, like if I'm not having any physical device with me, where our data is getting stored? That doesn't mean like it really store in the clouds, right? Somewhere it has to be stored. Somewhere it physically it has to be stored. So in physical machines, it has to be stored. So whenever you upload any data, so that will be stored physically at somewhere in machines, right? But this machine's responsibility will taken care by service provider. Who is a service provider? What do you mean by service provider? Can I say the person who is providing a service is a service provider? Who is a service provider? Let's say if I had a broadband connection of a Act, who is my service provider? Act is my service provider. If I use the Geo is my service provider. The person who is providing a service for me, he is a service provider. Similarly, if I'm using a Google Drive, who is providing a service, Google Drive service for me? So Google is my service provider. If I'm storing my data in Google Drive, who is service provider for me? Google is service provider for me. It means whenever you upload your data into the Google Drive, that will be stored physically at somewhere. That physical machine's responsibility will taken care by the service provider. If I'm using Google Drive, Google is my service provider. Google will take care of it. Am I clear? So the service provider is, and the machines. So Google will take care of this. Google will take care of this responsibility. Am I right? It means if it is your computer, if this is your computer and you uploaded the data, and that will be physically stored, that will be physically here in the machines. Am I clear or not? This is a Google Drive. So you uploaded your data using Google Drive. And once you upload it, it's stored physically in these machines. And the responsibility of these machines will be taken care by Google. You're clear about it. And now there are two statements that I'm passing. One statement is Google Drive is pay-as-you-go model. And whenever I uploaded the data in Google Drive, that will be stored physically at somewhere. And maintaining of it, the responsibility will be taken care by service provider. In this case, Google is my service provider. This is nothing but a cloud. Cloud is nothing but this. So the simple statement is, I'll give a statement, try to relate it to what I explained till now. Instead of you maintaining your infrastructure, someone else is maintaining your infrastructure. This statement is correct or wrong? Instead of you maintaining your infrastructure, someone else is going to take care of it. That is called cloud. This is one of the statement in the cloud. Instead of you maintaining your infrastructure, service provider will maintain your infrastructure. Google Drive is an option to only store the data. Okay. Google Drive is only option to store your data. But in real time, we might have a number of services, hundreds of services. Each and every service will have a use case. Let's say, for example, if I wanted to use a Google Drive, what is the first step that I need to do? If I wanted to use Google Drive, what is the first step that I need to do? I have to create a Google account. Am I right or wrong? I have to create a Google account. And I have to log in into this Google account. Then I can able to see multiple services which is provided by Google there. See, once I logged into the Google account, I can see Gmail there. I can see Classroom there. I can see spreadsheets there. I can see Google Drive there. I can see a number of services there, like different services I can see. Each and every service is having a particular use case. Yes or no? So if I wanted to send an email, I will use a service Gmail. If I wanted to store the data, I will use a service Google Drive. If I wanted to store something in Excel, I'll just open that spreadsheet or whatever it may be. If I wanted to have a chart, I'll open the chart service. If I wanted to write down some notes, I'll open the notes. It means when you sign up into the Google account, you have a different services based on your requirement. Based on your requirement, you're going to pick up that service and using that service. Clear? The same thing applies here as well in Amazon Web Services or in Microsoft Azure or whatever it may be. The same thing, it applies here. There you have created a Google account, but here I will create a Amazon Web Services account. There I created Google account. Here I have created Amazon Web Services account. The way how you can see multiple services available in your Google account. Here we can see hundreds of services available in Amazon Web Services account. For each and every use case, there will be a service provided. Let's say if I wanted to store the data, there is a service available. If I wanted to create a server, there is a service available. If I wanted to do something else, I'll just pick for which service will matches for my requirement to fulfill my requirement. So in simple language, if you wanted to say that cloud is something, a fully furnished house for an IT infrastructure. Whatever you want, you can use it and you can pay for it. Did you understood what is cloud now? What cloud is providing exactly? So now we will try to understand why we should use cloud. You understood about what is cloud now, right? We'll try to understand why should we use cloud? What is the reason behind it? And what advantages that we are getting because of using this Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure or whatever it may be, whatever the cloud may be. See, let's say we all know manabadi.com. We all know manabadi.com, or we all know abibus.com, we all know flipkart.com, whatever it may be. We all know many applications or web applications or websites or whatever it may be. We all know it, right? Let's say I have an idea of building a website or building a web application. I wanted to build it. I don't know what is a cloud. I don't know what is a cloud. I just having an idea to make this available to the customers. So people who wanted to check the results, they can come to my particular site and they can give a hall ticket number and they can click on submit and they can get the results. This is what my concept. So generally, what will I do? So first of all, I'll just create a network. I'll just create a network. Okay. Forget about a cloud. We are not discussing about cloud. Generally, if a person wants to develop an application, the first thing that they're supposed to do is they'll set up a network first. We are not going in depth of what is a network. We are not going in depth of networking concepts as of now. We will discuss that later. So we are trying to understand why we are using cloud. What are the advantages of cloud? Concentrate on it. Okay. So generally inside the network, they're supposed to place a server. They're supposed to place a server. Okay. So we're supposed to place a sorry. We're supposed to place a two servers. One is for application and the other one is for database. One is for application, the other one is for database. So whenever a customer is opening their Google Chrome browser and typing www.manabadi.com, straight away it shows a page. It asks some hall ticket number or whatever it may be. We will provide the hall ticket number and we will click on submit. And it immediately shows the result of it. It means I will go and collect data from all the colleges or from the JNTU or whatever it may be. I will store my results in the database. Is it clear? And front end, I'll develop an application so that the end users can directly reach out to my application. So let's say, so here there are users. So here there are users and let's say when a user is accessing, when a user is accessing to the application, then application will talk to the database. Am I right or not? And the database will give the results to the application. And in the front end, we can able to see the results. Let's say to deploy this small infrastructure, we have to set up a network. We have to set up a server. It means it completely deals with an hardware. Completely deals with a hardware. Whenever you want to set up a network or whenever you want to set up a server, you should procure a hardware. Procuring a hardware is not an easy part, and it is very, we have to invest a lot. Clear? Let's say if I wanted to set up a physical infrastructure, uh, first of all, I need a room to set up my infrastructure. I have to procure the server, and I should procure some switches, routers, cables, air conditioner should be there. Because if you remember all your college days, like if you're working, there will be a server room. Even in your colleges also, there will be an IT room. Like whenever you required some Wi-Fi connections or whenever you wanted to meet any IT admin, you will be going to that particular place. So there is a room with an air conditioner, servers, racks, switches, routers, cables, and all. So we have to procure all this air conditioner, and there should be a admin to manage that, and there will be a power bill, and there will be a power backup. So these are all the very basic investments whenever you wanted to have a physical infrastructure. We can call it as a physical infrastructure. We also call it as on-premises infrastructure. On-premises infrastructure means if you're not using a cloud, you should use an on-premises infrastructure. On-premises. Premises means what? The place where we stay. So if you are maintaining your infrastructure in your premises, that is called on-premises infrastructure. Yeah, service provider. So to set up this on-premises infrastructure, we have to spend a certain amount. After spending an amount, if you feel that if you are not getting, and like let's say, like for example, we all purchase the laptops in our engineering. What is the reason that we're supposed to stay in home? What is the reason we're supposed to stay in home? Like to practice a C language or to practice a Java. But end result, what it will be? To just watch a movies, right? There is a different configurations here. Like if I wanted to buy a laptop for a video editing or to practice something, my configuration will be different. If I wanted to watch just a movies, my configuration is different. So whenever we are talking about very small requirement, the price will definitely varies around at least 10,000, right? Whenever we are talking about a huge infrastructure, if you bought the huge infrastructure and if you didn't get an enough project, so your hardware will be wasted or not, isn't it? So I spent 10 lakhs on my infrastructure. I'm not using it for a right purpose. So obviously, whatever the investment that we put on it, it will be get wasted. Let's say if I bought very less infrastructure, if I wanted to upgrade it immediately, is it that much easy to upgrade it immediately with the physical infrastructure? Let's say if I bought my laptop with 8 GB RAM, suddenly I wanted to increase it for 16 GB RAM. Will it happen in the fraction of seconds? It will take some time. Let's say if I wanted to downgrade it immediately, will that happen immediately? It won't be happen immediately. So whenever you're going with an on-premises infrastructure, the problem is you have to put a lot of investment and the maintenance cost will be high and difficult to manage, and it's not easy to scalable. Like either it can be a scale up or it can be a scale down. Let's say if I wanted to deploy a same manabadi.com in AWS or in Azure, to create the infrastructure, to set up a server, it hardly takes 5 minutes for me. Hardly takes 5 minutes. Hardly takes 5 minutes. Along with that, here you don't need to invest anything. There won't be any investments because you don't need to procure anything here. No investments. All you do is rental basis. Let's say if I wanted to store my 50 GB data, if it is physical infrastructure, I have to go and I have to buy the physical hardware. If I'm using Google Drive, do I need to invest anything? Simply, I can upload the data. If I'm using it, I'll be paying for it. Similarly, whatever the cloud may be, can be Amazon Web Services, it can be Azure, it can be GCP, it can be anything. You don't need to invest anything. Simply, whatever the infrastructure that you want, you can spin up immediately. If you don't want, you can delete immediately. So that is the reason it is pay as you go model. That is the reason it is pay as you go model. So whenever we were learning something, so first we have to learn the background of it. So that is the reason I was just explaining this, what is cloud and why we have to use this cloud. Straight away learning of AWS services it will be easy, but you will be missing something like, the basic fundamentals. We should never miss that. Clear? So what is a cloud? Cloud is nothing but instead of you maintaining your infrastructure, service provider will maintain the infrastructure. Cloud is a pay-as-you-go model. How much you use, you pay for it. In cloud, let's say, here I said that we'll be creating a network, right? We'll be creating a network. See, if I wanted to create a network, I will be having a service for it. I'll be having a particular service for it. If I wanted to store data for storage, I will be having a service for it. Let's say if I wanted to monitor this application server, for monitoring, I will be having a service. Okay. Let's say whenever you have a computer, the computer will have a hard disk, right? Without having a hard disk, you can't have a computer. If I wanted to have a hard disk for my machine, for that, there will be a service. If I wanted to check the logs, for that, there will be a service. For each and every requirement, for each and every use case, there will be a service. Learning of cloud is very simple. Here, we are not inventing anything new. We are not describing anything new. We were just learning the services which are provided by a particular service provider. We are just learning of a services which are provided by a particular service provider. So learning of AWS or learning of Azure or learning of GCP, whatever it may be, simple, where to use, how to use. So these are the two principles that we need to learn. So the advantage of learning of a cloud is, if I'm very good at Amazon Web Services, okay, in future in your organization, if they ask you to work on any other cloud platform, you won't require any training. If you're good at one particular cloud platform, you can easily work with the other cloud platform. The concept of the cloud platforms will be same. All three clouds or whatever the cloud may be, the concept will be the same. Whenever you're using it, you might find a few differences. Okay. So here, learning of AWS is nothing but where to use and how to use, because we have a lot of services available in a particular cloud platform, right? So we will just explore the services where we can use this service, and we will explore how we can configure this service. Whenever you learn where to use, automatically you will be aware of how to use it as well. It won't be much difficult, because as I said, we are not developing any new service in Amazon Web Services here. We are only learning the services which are provided by Amazon Web Services. Clear? So what is the cloud? So you all very good at, you understood, right? What is cloud? And You understood any confusion in that? You're clear, right? So what is a cloud and what is an on-premises infrastructure? What is on-premises infrastructure? On-premises infrastructure means if you are maintaining your infrastructure in your premises physically, that is called on-premises infrastructure. That is called on-premises infrastructure. Clear? So let's try to understand. So whenever we will learn or whenever we are entering into the IT, generally we always have, we always keep on hearing a few terminologies, right? One is an on-premises infrastructure, one is a server, one is an IP address, one is a network. These are all the four terminologies we always keeps on hearing, right? So we will try to understand that now. Okay. So people from online, so whoever joins in the online, so I'll be allowing you to talk at the end of our session. So last 15 minutes I'll be giving to you, so you can ask your questions at that time. Let's say, so I'll be explaining this in very layman language, okay, to just remember, okay. Let's say there is a house, and let's say there is another house. There are two houses here. There are two houses here. Let's say this is house one, and it is house two. House one, house two. Let's say there is a person who is staying here. Let's say there is a person who is staying here. Okay. So these two persons will have names. So these two persons will have a professional name and nickname. These two persons are belongs to two different houses. Now let's say if these two persons want to talk to each other, if this person wants to talk to each other, will they communicate with the professional name or nickname? These two persons wants to talk to each other. These two persons wants to talk to each other. Will these two persons will communicate with their professional name or nickname? Obviously, they will communicate with each other with the professional names. Am I right? Let's say there is another person who is staying here. If there is another person who is staying here, these two persons will communicate with the professional name or nickname. Nickname, right? As simple as that. House is nothing but a network. House is nothing but a single network. Whenever two different networks are there, a person is nothing but a server which is residing inside the network. Understood? A person is nothing but a server who is residing inside the network. Now, let me ask you a question. When there are two different networks, when there are two different houses, communication will be happen with the professional or nickname. When two persons are staying inside the house, professional or nickname. Professional name is nothing but a public IP. Remember that. Nickname is nothing but a private IP. When there are two different networks, communication will be happen with the help of public IP or private IP. Public IP. Internal communication with the happen with the help of public IP or private IP. Remember that. There are cases, there are some cases, even though if we have a two different networks, even though if we have a two different networks, the communication can be happen with the public IP with some reasons. Don't bother about this as of. We will discuss it later. As of now, blindly remember communication between two different networks will be happen with the help of public IP. Communication within the network will be happen private IP. Clear? Now let me ask you a question. Let's say this is a network. This is a network, and inside that there is a server. Inside that there is a server. In this server, assume that there is a IRCTC server. IRCTC server. Now I'm sitting in my home. I'm sitting in my home. I have a computer. I have a computer. I have a computer. Now from here, I wanted to access IRCTC server to book the tickets. I have to access IRCTC server to book the tickets. Should I access a public IP of IRCTC server or private IP of IRCTC server? Public IP. But in general, are we accessing IRCTC application with the IP address or www.irctc.com? www.irctc.com. So what will happen is we will purchase a domain name irctc.com, and whenever you access www.irctc.com, in the backend, the traffic will be routed to a public IP of that particular server. Understood? So whenever people access www.irctc.com, the traffic will be routed to a public IP of this server. Understood? Whenever you access www.irctc.com, the traffic will be routed to a public IP of that server. To do this, we will be having a service in AWS. Understood? To create a server, we will be having a service in AWS. Understood? Whenever people access www.irctc.com, to route the traffic from irctc.com to a server, we will have a service in AWS. Similarly, we will be having a multiple services in AWS. For each and every use case, there will be a service. Learning of AWS is nothing but to create a server, what is the service? How to use it? To attach a domain name, what is the service? How to use it? To create a database, what is the service? How to use it? Understood? Let's say to monitor the server, what is the service? How do we monitor it? Let's say suddenly the IRCTC traffic will be increased. Every time the traffic will not be the same, right? So let's say in the Tatkal time, the users will be double the traffic with the normal traffic. In that case, it should be able to handle the traffic. To handle the traffic, we have a service. So learning of AWS is nothing but learning of all these services. Clear? You understood what is a public IP? What is a private IP? What is a network? Network is something like our home. We will not sleep on the roads, right? We have a place where for security, we are staying in a particular home. Similarly, even though when we create a server, that stays in a particular network. For a human, there will be a house. For a server, there will be a network. Inside the network, the server will reside. Clear? And you understood what is a cloud also, and what is an on-premises infrastructure as well. Clear? And what are the multiple few services which AWS is providing? You may not aware of how to use the services and what are those services, but you understood what are the different types of services which is providing by AWS, right? To create a network, to create a server, to monitor a server, to handle the traffic, to route the traffic from domain name to a server. We have a lot of services. To create a database, we have many services. So in the coming classes, we will explore all those services. We will learn about the service first, and then we will see the advantages of that service, and then we will see how to configure those services. Clear? Understood? Any questions from offline? Clear? So coming to this, many of questions that I supposed to hear, like whenever people learning cloud, so do we require a coding for it? Do we learn any programming language for it? So the answer for that is no. Okay. If you wanted to learn any programming language, that will be add-on to the AWS or add-on to the Azure. To learn AWS or to learn Azure, we don't require any prerequisites. Like if before learning AWS, you have to know the coding. So we don't have any restrictions for that. Okay, there is no relation here between a Python or between AWS. There are cases where you will be using, where you can use any scripting language in AWS. There is a service for it. So we will get to know about when we are discussing about that service. Clear? And the advantages of having a multi-cloud knowledge is many of the companies will use multiple cloud platforms. Like always, when you're going for an interview, one should be your primary skill. The other should be your secondary skills. Always AWS should be your primary skill. And if they ask about Azure or whatever it may be, if you have some idea on Azure, so that will be an added advantage. And along with this, if you are deploying your resources through Terraform, that will be an extra advantage. And if you are deploying your Terraform templates using of a pipelines, that will be another advantage. So combination of all these will be helpful for your interview. So that is the reason we all bring this together. If you look at DevOps, Jenkins or whatever we are doing a project using of a Jenkins and Terraform is belongs to DevOps tool. Understood? So I have included those two here because for like individually, if you wanted to learn AWS separately or DevOps separately or Azure separately, it will be a different part. We all bring this together. What is important here? Like, what services will be important here and what pipelines will be important here. We all bring this together. So AWS plus 15 days Azure plus deploying those infrastructure using of a Jenkins pipeline and GitHub Actions pipeline and using a Terraform templates. So that is what we'll be covering in this. Okay, you all can get the course content from the admin as well. Clear? So now let me go with the questions with online. Then I'll come to you and I'll clear your doubts. Okay, if you have any questions regarding the course or regarding your subject, what I explained, or whatever it may be. Clear? So people from online. So if you have any questions, you can raise your hands. I'll allow you to talk. So let me, or else you can text it in the chat box. So let me read out the messages. So you can text in the chat box, guys, so that I'll reply to that. So let me first go with the first question. Please put it in the chat box, whatever the question that you want. That's the gear. So can I join? It is an IT sector. Yes, it is IT sector. So you don't need to learn any language. The session will be every day at 9 to 10:30. It will start at around 9:10 or something. Every day. So last 15 minutes, I'll be allowing you to asking your questions, whatever that I explain. Clear? So minimum 1 hour or 45 minutes to 1 hour, the session will be there. And the ending at the ending, minimum 15 to 20 minutes, at least 15 minutes, I'll be allowing you to raise your questions, whatever that I explained till date. Clear? So admin contact will be posted here, and you will be also receiving a call from the admin as well. So you don't need to learn any programming language. So course content will be shared by the admin. So it will be difficult to write the all services in the chat box. So get the course content, you can able to see the all the services which we are going to cover. So Anshul, if you are an SQL developer, yes, you can learn this because even in AWS also you can create your SQL databases and you can develop your databases. Yes, so this course will help for AWS Solution Architect Associate level as well. Okay, if you are a beginners, you can go with some cloud practitioner certifications, which is very basic for freshers. If you wanted to put some experience, practitioner certificates will not be helpful. You must go with the solution architect certifications. So coming to the career options in cloud, people who are learning a cloud. So the job opportunities or the designations that you always find is cloud engineer, cloud operations engineer, SRE engineer, AWS engineer, associate AWS engineer, or software engineer. It all depends on the JD that they provide. Okay, designations will generally depends on organizations, whatever they want. Like, let's say, for example, if my designation is software engineer, that doesn't mean that I'm not working on AWS. So there are the generic designations will be there. Always you have to look for a JDs, job descriptions. In organizations, when you belongs to a cloud, the teams will be divided like cloud engineering team and cloud operations team. Engineering team is something whenever you're deploying something or whenever you're developing something from scratch. Operations team is something like a support job, like where you are supporting the existing infrastructure. Clear? So Ansible and Bamboo are not going to cover here. And every day, yes, there will be a notes will be coming to you. So there will be a running notes will be shared to you. So for whatever the sessions that I'm going to cover, maybe the notes will be shared to you within 2 to 3 days delay because I have to prepare and I have to share it with you. Maybe at the weekend or something, whatever the topics that I'm going to discuss, that will be shared notes to you. So public and private IPs, we will get in detail of it. To just remember what is the public and what is the private, I just gave you that example. In future, whenever we are working with networking concepts, so we will work with the public and private IPs. Okay, don't bother about it. So regarding job assistance, timings, etc., please talk to the admin. So this batch is for at 9 a.m. to 10:30. Okay, so if you need any other timings or anything, so you have to go for other batches. So talk to the admin regarding that. So in Azure, we were not going to cover all the topics. Okay, so we were covering only few topics on Azure, so that you'll get it in the course content, like only few services like creating of a network, creating of a server, creating of a database. So only few services will cover in Azure. Rahul, yes, WAF will also be covered. So Soil, yes, you can come to the offline, but it is in Hyderabad. The course will be first 40 to 50 days, it will be AWS. It means around, including holidays, it around takes 2 months. And then again, 15 classes at least on Azure. It takes around at least 1 month, like including holidays. And another 15 days at least, I mean, at least 10 days will take for a project, like to do a project using of a Terraform and Jenkins and GitHub Actions. It will be minimum 3 months from today. From today, at least minimum 3 months will be there. It will be more than 3 months. It will not be less than 3 months. Yes, Anil, we are going to train on cloud admin activity as well. So Saturday and Sunday, there won't be a sessions. Sessions will be from Monday to Friday. So you don't require any basic knowledge to learn this course, but Naresh IT offers a free Linux course people who have enrolled for this course. Okay, so you can opt for that free Linux course. So that will be helpful. So learning of a Linux will be helpful for your job interviews and all. Okay, you can opt for a free Linux course. So there won't be any relation, Ayushi. So any cloud, like if someone wants to learn any scripting, Python will be good. Like most of the time, people will use Python, like the combination of either AWS or Azure. So, and it is not mandatory. It's all upon depends on interest. If you don't want to go in that zone, you can stop it. Certifications, certifications is not necessary for a jobs. Okay, according to my knowledge, because Even though if you have a certification, you need to answer in the interview. By just looking at the certificate, no one gives a job for you. Certification is just an add-on to shortlist your resume, not more than that. If you do your certification after getting a job, instead of you paying for a certification, your company will pay for the certification. If you do a certification after getting a job. Okay, certification is not mandatory. So knowledge is important. So certification is just an optional and it will help you to shortlist your resume. That's it. So after completing the course, you can take the certification. So cloud practitioner is very basic. Like people who are very freshers who just college passed out, I recommend to do a cloud practitioner first. People who have an experience and people who wants to show like 3 years or 4 years of experience in cloud. So cloud practitioner will not helpful there. You have to do at least a solution architect associate level certification. And that will be part of our course. I mean, if you have completed this course, for completing this course, people who are preparing for a solution architect associate level, they should go with the dumps first. Dumps are nothing but a practice questions that you can get it from the online. You have to prepare for the dumps at least for 1-2 months and passing those exams, then go for a certification because for certification fee, it will be around some 13,000 rupees or 14,000 rupees. If you fail the certification, you will lose the 13,000 or 14,000 rupees. Next time again, you have to buy. Clear? Argo CD will not cover. So for fee, etc., please talk to the admin or you will be receiving a contact. It won't include any GCP. With my own interest, I'm just showing you how to migrate some particular data or whatever it may be to from GCP to AWS. I mean, it's not a part of course content or something. To make you too familiar, I just show you a GCP console as well. Clear? So classes will start from today. So whatever the topic that from tomorrow, it will be a continuation. If you miss the class or something, you will be having a recording to watch the video for first 5 sessions for free. Later on, there will be some subscription for to get the video. So you might always aware of it, like if you talk to the admin. See, Linux is not required or not mandatory, but since they are providing a free Linux course, better to opt for it. Because in AWS, we will create a Windows machines and Linux machines, right? We will see how to run a basic Linux commands. If you learn Linux, that will be helpful for your career. Deepak Reddy, so class starts from today. From tomorrow, it will be a continuation only. Clear. I'll be just recapping for first 5 minutes or 10 minutes, like whatever we covered on a previous day. The rest of the class will be continued. So placement assistance, interviews and all, please talk to the admin. So instead of CloudFormation Surya, we are covering a Terraform for it. So Divya, please talk to the admin regarding that. And the Linux course timings and all, it's not in my hands. So talk to the admin. So whenever the batch starts, they'll keep you posted so that you can join to that. Clear. So hope I cleared. So it will be 3 months, Adarsh. So job opportunities will not come to you. You have to search for the opportunities. Always there will be an opportunities, but if it is a fresher, you have to search it for a more. Just not to rely on only LinkedIn or only a Naukri or something. You have to create a nice LinkedIn profile. You have to search for the opportunities. And placement assistance, talk to the management ones. AWS is not based on .NET or not based on Java. It is not based on any coding language. It is an individual cloud platform. Okay. So hope everyone is clear from online. So if you're good, so then I'll be going with offline. So I'll be going on mute and I'll be clearing the doubts for offline. Clear? So here I have given an introduction about only an AWS. Okay. And before that, I gave you an example of cloud. I have not specified this is an AWS, this is an Azure. Here I gave you an introduction about a cloud, not even AWS. Okay. Any cloud, the introduction will be the same. But then whenever you learn the other services, so then you'll be understanding the difference between AWS and Azure. Understood? So cloud is a cloud. It can be an AWS or it can be an Azure. Clear? Everything, like if it is AWS, it is maintained by Microsoft. Your data centers will be maintained by Microsoft. Sorry, if it is Azure, the your servers will be maintained by Azure. If it is Amazon Web Services, it will be maintained by Amazon. If it is Google Cloud, it will be maintained by GCP. Do we work on Windows? No, we'll just create a Windows machines. We are not going in depth of the Windows.
If you use Terraform, then it can easily be, we can use any cloud, right? If
that is the main advantage of it. Yeah. 1 second. So the roadmap for the course, I already told you. Initially, we discuss AWS, then we'll move to the Azure, then we'll do the projects with Terraform and Jenkins and GitHub Actions. Yes. So can we join? 1 second. Sometimes. 1 second. So Deepak Reddy, I already told you. I have explained the introduction about cloud. First, we will discuss about AWS. Then we'll go to the Azure. I'm repeating it again. Okay, thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Tomorrow we'll connect at the same time again.